What is a popcorn chip? What is my favorite chip brand? And are popcorners good? Well, I talk about all that and more on this episode of the Toddcast. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Toddcast. As always, I'm your host, Todd McManus, on this hot day outside. It's summertime. No matter what you might hear, no matter what you might say, it is definitely the summertime. But what I want to go ahead and say first, just to get a little bit, it's kind of news, but I just want to say this, since this episode will be a full review episode, as well as I will be giving my top 5 of a specific subject, food related, of course, here in a minute. But I want to just go ahead and say first that this Sunday is, of course, daylight savings time, so don't forget to set your clocks forward. Yeah, we spring forward. That's how you remember. We spring forward in the spring, and then we fall back in the fall. Of course, that happens at like 2 or 3 in the morning or something. I don't know exact time. So just know that at some point it's going to go from being, let's say it happens at 2 in the morning, it's go from being 2 a.m. to 3 a.m. So we're actually losing an hour of sleep, but the way you combat against that is just go to bed an hour earlier. If you normally go to bed at 11, go to bed at 10, or if you go to bed at 10, go to bed at 9, whatever. If you can, but it's this Sunday on March the 12th is when it is happening, of course. So don't forget to do that. I just want to let y'all know that, to be in the know, of course. So this episode is going to really be a kind of like a themed episode, and it was kind of on accident with how things are. So in a minute, I'm going to be giving a full review of 5 different flavors of a specific chip that I think that y'all are, most of y'all may never had it before. It was on a Super Bowl commercial, and I'm going to get into that in a minute, but I wanted to give my top 5 list real quick. I want to do a top 5 again, because I've done a top 5 before of candy bars and other stuff, and I looked at a tier list about doing that, and there's a lot of different stuff I have not had, so I'm trying to do tier lists in the future of things that I've had all of it, or I've been to every location that's on the tier list, or I've seen everything that's on it, kind of like how we did the Marvel movie. I've seen all the Marvel movies, but with the fast food restaurants, I've only been to like half of them at the time. That was in, November, I think, when I did that. So what I wanted to do was a top 5 listing that I am going to be ranking my top 5 favorite flavors or favorite brands of chips. Now, there's many different chips out there. You got your Lay's, which give or take, or something, But I wanted to give my top 5, and I'm going to start with number 5. We're just going to go ahead and get into this, and if whatever your top 5 is, please go to my YouTube channel. The link is down in the description of this episode. And in this episode, in the comments section, comment your top 5. What is your top 5 chips? What do you have on there? All the way from Lay's to Ruffles to all these other brands, What top 5 would you consider? Not just specific flavors, I'm considering the whole chip as itself. The one brand or the name of the chip with all the flavors of that one chip, So, and I will have some honorable mentions here in the middle. So, we're going to go ahead and start off with my number 5. We're going to start off at the bottom, of course, and just go work our way up to my favorite chip. So, number 5. My number 5 on my top 5 most liked chips by myself. My number 5 is going to have to be Cheetos. Now, you may not consider it a chip, but I do. Because, you think of a chip being a corn chip or something like that, but Cheetos, they are chips. You might not consider it that, but that's what I consider them. They are this crunchy snack that comes in a like foil type bag. Cheetos, only because I eat them a lot more than some of the other ones that didn't make the cut on this episode. So, Cheetos are good. My favorite are the crunchy. You know, a lot of people love the Puffs. The Puffs are a kid classic. That is such a classic of the old, of being, you know, young, running around, eating like ham sandwiches or having a Lunchable and then having, you know, some Cheetos, whether it be the Puffs or the crunchy. I was a crunchy guy. I was a big fan of Cheetos, the crunchy Cheetos, the thinner ones, you know, but they pack such a good crunch. But yeah, those are the ones that I like just solely because of the crunch, I guess. But yeah, there's not much else to say about Cheetos. I've had a few different flavors, I think, of the Cheetos, and they make the Cheetos mac and cheese as well. So like, I've never had that before, but I probably might try it in the future. But Cheeto, and then the Cheeto dust. Cheeto dust like goes to anything. I've seen videos of people like cooking chicken with Cheeto dust all on it, you know, and frying it. That's gotta be great. That's gotta taste good, you know. So yeah, my number 5 is Cheetos. So moving on up to my number 4, my top 5 list of chips. My number 4 is going to Pringles. And I love a good Pringle. Pringles, they're fun because they come in a tube. Even though you can't really get the bottom chips, you know, because they're all the way at the bottom of the tube. And unless you got some really skinny hands and arms, or you're okay with tipping it back to let all the crumbs fall out on you, then yeah, you can get the bottom. But they're fun, you know. Pringles I always consider as like a road trip thing because they're not in a bag. You're not having to worry about them falling out or anything. You know, you just put the cap back on it, boom, it's done. They're really like the best road trip, any kind of adventure you're going on, you know, any vacation or whatever. I think Pringles are probably take the best because they don't come in a bag where you have to seal it. You know, the seal with the can is already there because it's a Pringles can. It's got that plastic, you know, cup covering on the top, with the lid, you know. So that's why I think Pringles are good. And I've tried a lot of different flavors, and they do nail it. Like, a lot of their flavors may be questionable on whether they're good or not, but they do nail the flavor of what they're going for. And that's what I like about Pringles, is that they can do that. You know, Lay's didn't make the list, but Lay's, you know, they're also that type of chip, you know, that they can, sometimes they nail it and sometimes they don't. But Pringles, I feel like they nail it every time. Because there's pizza Pringles, there's the cheddar Pringles. Cheddar Pringles was my favorite when I was younger. That was so good. So my top 3 on my top 5 list, my number 3, I am going with Popcorners chips. That's right. I'm going with Popcorners because I've had them recently and they are kind of almost life-changing because they're just really good. If you've never had a Popcorner chip before, it's basically just popcorn in a triangle chip form, like how Doritos are triangle. But they're good. They come in different flavors. They had a great Super Bowl commercial with Walter White and Jesse from Breaking Bad. They're just a really good chip, and it's because it's made out of popcorn. It takes away the worst part of popcorn to me, which are the kernels that get stuck in between your teeth and pretty much make your gums bleed when you gotta rip them out. It takes that out, even though some of these chips are still like burnt, so they still have the burnt black parts of the popcorn on the chip, which is kind of weird to me, and I don't like burnt popcorn. I don't like burnt anything really. But yeah, I definitely think that Popcorners are top tier, high quality chips. They're really good. If you like popcorn and you love popcorn, then you should give Popcorners a chance. They're at Walmart, they're at Target, you know, they're at different places. So I would highly recommend trying Popcorners because they're kind of life changing. Where you were like, wow, do I want this? But you can't beat just getting classic popcorn. But the thing is with Popcorners, popcorn is addictive, and eating chips out of the bag is addictive. Well, then you combine those two together where you're basically eating the crunchy chips, but you taste the popcorn. So it's like, it's the best and worst combination that you can get out of snack food that is addictive. So, with that being said, I am going to go ahead and I will give my honorable mentions before I mention my top 2, and you can go ahead and probably guess what my top 2 are. Honorable mentions that did not make the list, but I kind of just got to talk about them. One of them being Lay's. Lay's did not make the top list. See, I like Lay's, but eating Lay's are always like the original classic Lay's that are in the yellow bag, just plain, salty chips. They're okay, but they're not the best. You don't pick them when you go to a store. You only get them as if you're supplying a field trip for children. You only receive them if you are the child on this field trip, or something, You're always like a kid, or wherever they hand out free bags of chips, because I remember like different carnivals or any kind of event that you would have at a school, like I'm talking like high school and elementary school, classic Lay's or any kind of Lay's, and a few other chips were but Lay's were the main ones, and they're okay, and they got so many, but they're so thin, and then the bag's always like less than half full, so it's like, what's the point, So, but yeah, they're okay. I'd eat them, but I'm not gonna go out and buy them myself. And if somebody gave them to me, I'd probably still eat them though. Another honorable mention that didn't make the list are Fritos. Now, Fritos are good. I do like a good corn chip. I am a fan of just the regular original Fritos. They're salty. They're good. Of course, they go on that Frito chili pie that a lot of people like. The barbecue Fritos are like a big hit for a lot of people because people love barbecue chips, of course. They're okay. I'm not that big of a fan of barbecue chips, but I'll eat them. I'll try them, and some of them are good and some of them aren't. But yeah, Fritos are good, really crunchy. But regular Fritos are pretty good. But sadly, they couldn't make it into the top 5. I probably rank Fritos like 6, honestly, on the top 5, like 6 or 7 around there. But another one on my honorable mentions, this is the last honorable mention, is Cheez-Its. And, of course, you can probably either consider them more of a snack or a chip, but I consider them chips. Cheez-Its have a lot of different flavors. They do the duos, they do the extra cheesy, But regular Cheez-Its are always something that I could get behind and, eat probably 100 of them in, an hour or something, Or less than that, probably 30 minutes, because I'm just sitting there with a box of Cheez-Its open while still in the bag in the box, and you're reaching your hand in and just eating Cheetos, and then before you know it, you got some really stank cheesy breath and an empty box of Cheetos. So, they're good. I just couldn't rank them on my top 5 because the other things that are on my top 5 are just better to me, in my opinion. But yeah, Cheez-Its are good. And that's why they're on the honorable mentions, because because I know a lot of people like Cheez-Its, and that's why I just had to mention them. So, yeah. So, we'll go ahead and get into the final 2 on my top 5 list. Coming in at number 2 is kind of a shocker, I feel like, to some people, but it was my number 2. My number 2 is going to be Tostitos. Now, Tostitos is what I like. That's my go-to. Not really, but whenever there's a dip or salsa or some type of queso or cheese dip or whatever, if somebody has that at a party, in my opinion, the best chip to have with any kind of dip that is being served is a Tostitos scoop. There is no doubt about it. They have nailed how to make a chip into a small, very small bowl to be able to dip as much queso or salsa into it. Any kind of dip, spinach artichoke dip, whatever, guacamole, I don't care. Whatever dip there is, bean dip, it don't matter. Whatever dip you're having, Tostitos scoops have got to be the clear choice for that. Much less, I've always dipped it, with those the circle ones, the bite-sized Tostito chips. They're really good. They're always salty. They're always good. And then just regular Tostitos that are in triangle shape. Just the regular, like, I don't know, whatever they're called, I think. One of them are Cantina style, and they're like in a yellow bag. And they're good too. Tostitos never disappoints me, plus the added benefit that whenever you get like a straight chip and you dip it into some queso and then you try to pick it up, most likely you're going to break it. Like it's not, a 50-50 chance, but like, 30% of the time, you're going to break the chip while pulling it out of the queso and dipping it up. The scoop solves that problem because you're just scooping it. It's basically just a spoon or a bowl that is just a very small chip that you're able to get it out, boom, eating it, and then there you go. That's why Tostitos, for me, is my number 2 on my top 5 list. And my number 1, which is probably no shocker to anybody that knows me. My number 1 top 5 chip, it's got to be Doritos. How can it not be Doritos? Doritos is a classic. It's always been my favorite. I was so much of a fan of the nacho cheese Doritos for so long, and I still am. But as a kid, I tried the Cool Ranch, and they were good. They were okay, but I was like, nacho cheese are way better than this. And then now I'm sitting here like, I don't know which one is better. It comes down to the wire of which one do I personally just want to say is better, because they're both so different, but both so good. Between the nacho cheese and the Cool Ranch Doritos, I mean, they have their own rivalry between two flavors of the same chip. That's how big of a deal. That's like a big question. That's a question I hear that come up whenever people talk about food. That's probably going to be a question that comes up sometimes is, okay, well, nacho cheese or Cool Ranch? And then that decides, if you're friends with them or not. But nacho cheese and Cool Ranch, iconic. Just iconic flavors as chips. And that needs no more explanation. They have other chips. They have some type of like spicy barbecue Doritos. They have the sweet Asian chili, I think is the purple one. And I've had some of those and they're okay. They're not my favorite, but they're still pretty good. But no doubt, Doritos has got to be number 1, right? Like, it has to be. So, my top 5 goes as this, with number 5 being Cheetos, 4 Pringles, 3 Popcorners, number 2 Tostitos, and number 1 as Doritos. And that is my top 5, and that is how it is done. So, if you have your top 5 and you agree with me or disagree with me in some spots, or you think some of the honorable mentions should be on there, or anything I did not mention at all should be on there, then you can comment down below and see how your top 5 ranks against mine. Do you believe Lay's, Cheez-Its, or Fritos should have been on there? What do you think shouldn't have been on there? Maybe popcorns for a lot of people, since a lot of people haven't had them. So, I am going to now do a chip review, which is why I said this was on theme, because I am about to rate 5 different flavors of Popcorners chips. And I just mentioned them, and I haven't rated them yet, and I've been wanting to, and I got my hands on 5 different flavors, and I'm going to go ahead and rank them here right now. So, we're going to go ahead and start with, there's not really an original, but the closest thing, in my opinion, is sea salt. So that's what we're going to start with. This is going to be very loud because I have to open the bags every time, except for 2 of them. So, good sized bag. Smells like salty popcorn, so it smells good. So let's pull it out. Okay. It's a good chip. It looks good. Okay. So, of course, I will be ranking them all on the official Toddcast scale of 0 to 100, no decimals, and then ranking them against each other. So, whoever has the highest score will be the best Popcorners flavor, and we will see how they rank up against each other. This is the first flavor, sea salt. Let's go ahead and give it a try, and I apologize for the crunching because they are chips, but if it grosses you out, you can turn the volume down if you want. That's up to you. So, Good, good. Try some more. Okay. They're good. Salty. Put them over there. They're good. I think the added benefit to them is that they're going to taste the exact same every time, and that they are more addictive than a lot of other chips, in my opinion. Tastes like just plain popcorn. Tastes like it does need butter, I feel like, is one thing. I'm still going to give it a 78 because it is pretty good, and that's a high score of mine, of course, 78 is a good score. I would buy this again, and it's just really good in my opinion. I definitely think that some of these might be better. That's why I'm kind of ranking it low, because the flavor is good, but the addictive part is what's getting to me about the sea salt chips, and I want to see if any of these other flavors are tasting better than the sea salt, and that's why I kind of rated it as a 76. I'm going to have to be drinking a lot too because I'm getting dry mouth. So the next flavor we have is white cheddar. Now, whenever you get those Christmas tins of the butter popcorn, the cheese popcorn, and the caramel popcorn, those are great, but my favorite was always the cheddar popcorn, or cheddar, cheese, whatever flavor cheese it was. Those were always my favorite out of those three flavors that were in the tin. Okay. Smells like cheese popcorn. So, white cheddar popcorners. Let's go ahead and try it. Okay. All right. Good. I do like them. They're good. I like the white cheddar popcorn. The white cheddar popcorners. I do think the flavor is better than the sea salt, but I do think that it's kind of the opposite as the sea salt of what I've talked about. That the flavor is good, but the addictiveness to it dies down because I think it just gives you that film or that, that wang taste to it where it's like I've eaten too much cheese. You get that, that kind of cheese flavor in the back of your mouth. And that's what kind of gets to me about eating a bunch of cheese popcorn back to back, is that I gotta pace myself, put them away for 2 hours, and then come back to them. So I would rank white cheddar a 76. Not bad. Right there at the sea salt, really. Only 2 points lower. They're still good to me, but I think I gotta give it that because of, I can't sit here and eat them all day. If I want a chip, I want to be able to sit here and eat as much as I can, or all of it at one time. So I definitely know I can do that with the sea salt, but the white cheddar is just, I think that I may not be able to do that. So the next chip we got, as I reach over here, is kettle corn. Sweet and salty kettle corn popcorners. Go ahead and look in here. Okay, it's got that sweet kind of smell. These have a coating to them. Okay. Well, they all look the same. So, kettle corn popcorners, let's give it a try. Okay. Well, I'm dropping everything. Oh. It's good. It's not my favorite flavor. I like these the least out of out of all of 3 of them so far. I rank these as 72. They're still pretty good. I still kind of like them. You know, I can probably eat a good amount of them. It's just I'm not that big of a fan of the kettle corn flavor. So that's why I rank them lower than white cheddar and sea salt, because I just think I'm not that big of a kettle corn guy. So the next flavor we have is spicy queso. And I thought about doing this last. There's one more flavor after this, but okay. Spicy queso. Let's get one. Okay. Ooh, it is real orange. You can always tell when a candy or a chip or any kind of food is really hot whenever it's orange or red, you know, or even black, you know, depending on how much seasoning's on it. I mean, it smells like cheese. It also smells hot, so you might get a show out of me right here. I see I'm already choking because of it. Spicy queso popcorners. Let's give it a try. Okay. Hasn't hit me yet. Going in for another one. Okay. The heat is there. I think it builds the more I eat it. The taste is good though. Like the actual, I just hit puberty right there. Did you hear my voice crack? The taste is good though. The flavor of these are pretty good. They're all a little hot, but not bad. I'd give the spicy queso a you know what? I would rank these at the same as kettle corn. I would tie them because the flavor is good, but I definitely know I can't eat a bunch of these because of the heat factor in it. Now, I've said this before and I'll say it again. Most people are one of two things. You either love spicy food or you love sour stuff, as in sour candy. I'm a sour guy. I'm not a spicy guy. I don't like spicy food. I don't like hot. But other than that, you add too much and then it gets hot and then I can't handle it. So this is the right amount of heat. I know I can't eat a bunch of them because of the heat, but still good flavor though. Still a good flavor. So that's why I rank them a 72, tying with kettle corn. So they'll be tied. The last flavor of popcorners I have is called Cinnamon Crunch. Here, let me take a drink. That way I can get the spicy out of my mouth. Okay. Oh. Oh, no. Have you ever opened a box? Have you ever opened a box of Cinnamon Toast Crunch and smelled it and go, that is what this smells like? And that was my ASMR for you. But yeah, these smell just like Cinnamon Toast Crunch. Like, it's uncanny how close it is. So I'm going to pull one out. Okay. God, it's got a lot of cinnamon sugar on it. But man, who knows? These might be the best because I'm a sucker for Cinnamon Toast Crunch. They're so good. So, Cinnamon Crunch popcorners. Let's go ahead and give it a try. Oh, okay. Okay. Interesting. I'm going to have another one. Okay. Interesting. They're better. I think I would have to give these just straight up a 73. 1 point higher than the kettle corn and the spicy queso because they're so different and they taste like something that shouldn't be real. Like they taste, it's like a Cinnamon Toast Crunch chip, but it's got like the salt on it too or something because it's like you don't get that cinnamon taste until after you've eaten the chip. It's the cinnamon aftertaste is what you get. But other than that, it's still a good chip. It's got the good crunch to it. And I can withstand that better than the spicy queso. And I think it tastes better than the kettle corn to me. So that's how the review stands. And that's where I stand on cinnamon popcorners. But yeah, that is the end of the review. Going down the line in order from lowest to highest, we have spicy queso and kettle corn tied in last place at 72, cinnamon crunch at 73, white cheddar at 76, and the reigning Popcorners chip champion, sea salt, at a solid 78. High quality chips. I really like them. They're good. Y'all should give them a try. But yeah, so I think that's going to do it for this episode. As always, please rate and subscribe. And if you're listening on YouTube, please like, comment, subscribe, and click that bell to get notified when new videos are uploaded. And make sure you follow the Toddcast on Instagram at @the_Toddcast_ for all your updates and Toddcast needs, and to see a picture of the Popcorners bags. So you know what you're looking for whenever you want to do your own review with these chips. And make sure you tell your friends and your family to give a listen. And thank all of you for listening to this episode. And as always, if you want to know what's going to happen next week, we're just going to tune in to find out. Only on the Toddcast.